Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute since I put a video out, but we're finally starting to get healthy, getting ready to get back into fishing. So I figured I'd do a little video as I prepare for springtime of my rod and reel maintenance. As you know, everybody in saltwater pretty much washes them off after every trip, which I'm not the best at doing that. So I do this usually twice a year. And with getting ready to get into spring, I figured it'd be a great time. What I do, which I got all my reels, the line stripped off because I'm going to have them all re-spooled while I'm doing all this. But I'll also do it with line on there, and so far it hadn't seemed to hurt it in any way, shape, or form. But what I like to do is break down all my reels, and I soak them in extremely hot water with Dawn dish soap, help get all the grease off. As you see, I got 4 reels. 2 of these are freshwater. This is a severely old one that I have from, I don't even know, I think somebody gave me this. Got a bait caster, and then I got 2 saltwater reels. And so far I've not had any issues with them, but they all pretty much break down the same way. On the handle, they'll all have a little knob that you turn, throw that in the water. Now this knob just unscrews, it goes backwards, that way you can't strip anything off. All this stuff I'm just going to tear apart as much as what I can. I don't tear out like all the really guts and that type of stuff from it, but you know, there's the spool to get that off, the knob, the handles off, and that's all I do is I let this stuff soak for, I don't know, however long. I'll probably get busy doing crap this morning, but usually let it go for about a half an hour, let that Dawn do its magic of bringing down all the grease and grime and all the crud that's going to get on these things from saltwater fishing. I would say probably even freshwater fishing, you should do this, but I don't do enough of freshwater fishing to know if it really makes a big difference or not. As you see, this is how I break down the bait caster. I just take the spool and the one break out. But for right now, that's it. We'll just get these things soaking, and then we'll be back in a bit. While we're waiting on our reels to soak, what I like to do, which I'm out of them currently, I have the tub of towels from Walmart, which if anybody works in anything that's got any grease or anything like that, them things are amazing. But now I just wipe down all my rods. There's really not a whole lot to do with your rods, honestly, other than I just like to keep them clean since they get fish slime and all that nasty stuff. So I'm just going to use some disinfectant wipes. And honestly, just give them a good wipe down. Make sure that like the handles and where, you know, your reels connect, all that stuff can get seated in real well. And even the eyelets, like the eyelets, you'll see, depending on what brand fishing rods you get, that they can get a little bit like rusty or corroded or whatever. So, I mean, I try to keep them things as clean as what I can, just so that way as you're casting, you're not getting any corrosion or anything like that on them that's going to nick your line or even break it or anything like that. I've had a little bit of both before in the past. So, you know, honestly, there's not a lot other than just kind of trying to make sure everything's halfway decently clean and like with this disinfectant, so that way you ain't getting all that mess all over your hands. Now that the reels have been sitting for a while, what I do is I just take like a little soft brush like that and just kind of give everything a good cleaning. Make sure that I'm getting as much of that sand and junk and grease and fish slime and all the other nasty stuff that you can get on these things. So I definitely don't use like a hard tipped bristle brush. I just try to use something real light. And then what I like to do too is while the reel's in the water is I'll spin it. That way I can get that dish soap working through all the gears and everything like that. Make sure everything's getting good and cleaned out. And then I'll do a quick rinse just to help get the soap off. That way it's not like leaving any residue or anything like that on there that would cause any form of slippage or anything like that. Always make sure, like with this, your bales, you're moving them back and forth as much as possible. I'll even do that in the water. I forgot to do that just a minute ago, but anything that moves, twists, turn, I like to do it while it's in the water just to help make sure that anything is out of these reels. That way, whenever you're on the water, man, you're not having a malfunction, anything stupid like that. So Once again, all this stuff is pretty basic, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's just one of those of longest part of any of this is just letting everything soak and dry. So pretty simple stuff so far. Now that everything's all dried up, cleaned up, I took a paper towel and just made sure I wiped everything out. You want to really look like inside your spools, on top of here. Make sure all that dirt, grime, grease is out of there. Same way even up here on like your spindles and stuff like that. Like I like to go through with a paper towel, another rag or whatever. Just make sure I'm wiping it down really good to get all that mess out of there. So now what I'll do is I will oil everything, and what I'm using is pin oil. You can use whatever brand you like. I mean, everybody's kind of got their own preference of whatever that is. I used to use like the pin grease, and I found that it collected way more dirt, sand, stuff like that than what I do with the oil. So I've switched over strictly to the oil. But what I'll do is like I'll start down here with the handle. Initially put like my first knob on here, and I'll do that because on this side where my handle goes, I want to start putting oil in there. Now I'm sure everybody's got their preference on how much oil they do. What I do is I fill it up until it's kind of coming out of the little knob there. I'll spin it around, make sure that it's getting down in those gears really good. Make sure everything's lubed up, all that. And then I just keep adding more almost until this thing's basically full. I prefer to have as much in there as what I can. Maybe I'm naive in my thinking, maybe 1 or 2 drops would be sufficient or not, but I like to put as much in there as I can. That way these things, like I said, I'm not the best at keeping my stuff maintained and cleaned up after every trip. So I like to get at and put as much in when I'm doing this as I can possibly fit in it. That way, when I only do this twice a year or whatever, then it's not as bad for it. Get the handle screwed on here, make sure it's good and tight. So there, as you can see now, just by doing that, how free this reel spins. And this reel's 5 years old at this point. Now what I like to do is up here where the nut meets the cylinder moving up and down, I'll put a couple drops, and I don't do a whole lot here at a time. So I'll do a couple drops, get this moving up and down, and then go back, put another couple drops. Just kind of do a little bit at a time because there's no like really big hole there or anything for this oil to get down in. So I just try to go through and just do little bits at a time with this. And that way is, this will help your drag and everything like that of making sure that that's good and lubed up. So I'm going to say that's good now. Get this seated on there, and I'll even do the same on the top. I don't know whether this makes a difference on the top or not, but, it helps me sleep at night, knowing that I got as much oil and grease, or I shouldn't say grease, as much oil as what I can on these things just to help protect them, help run it, make sure everything runs as smoothly as what it can, because last thing you want to do is get out there hooked onto a big fish and then your reels, the drag's junk and it snaps your line or whatever. So, it's one of those of like with doing this stuff, I try to be as good as humanly possible with it. Like I said, I know I ain't the best at it. At least after my trips, I always try to be pretty good. Like I said, a couple times a year, I will go through and do this part of it, just to help, because I don't know how y'all are, but I fish a fairly decent amount throughout the year. Obviously I'm no guide and fishing every day and stuff like that, but I want to make sure that my stuff, for what little bit of time I have available to go fish, is running as efficient as humanly possible, just because of it's going to help me catch as many fish as I can and not lose them. So honestly, that's pretty much it. I mean, at this point, I'm just going to finish putting these things back together, make sure they're all oiled up the way that they need to be oiled, make sure everything's running, twisting and moving them, make sure that stuff's in there the best way that it can. And then this weekend, I'm going to Bass Pro Shop. I'm going to go buy a new sonar, fish finder, whatever you want to call it, for the kayak. So I have a video coming out of, I won't say my process of buying it, because I'm not going to film out in public like that or anything, but I got a couple of them I'm looking at. So I'm going to go to Bass Pro, talk to those guys, see what they recommend to hook up with my trolling motor and what my style of fishing is. So I will have a video coming out after I buy it of the unboxing, the mounting, how I have everything set up on my kayak. I got a podcast is filmed and being edited by Nature Beat TV, so hopefully that'll be coming out soon. And as of today, I should be fishing in 2 weeks is my goal to be back out there. So making some more videos for y'all. Try to get back into this routine of posting one video a week. Hopefully I can do it. That's my goal for this year, is to maintain one video per week and try to grow this channel. I want to inspire you guys to get outside, man. It has helped me so much mentally of getting out. Whether for me, my outlet's fishing, but just get in the outdoors, enjoy it, get away from the mess that we all deal with jobs and stuff like that. So if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. You know all the rest of the YouTube crap or whatever. And until the next one, remember, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.